If you're new to Crossroads, I'm Hendrix. I am the interim pastor, which is an awful lot like the substitute teacher at school that kids do pranks on, and you know he's not going to be here for very long, and so that's me in this time frame right now. But during these weeks, we are digging deep into the core values of our church under the heading of the church I want to join. In fact, it really is the church that I did join. It's CRNAZ. It's the church that we are, and it's the church that we are aspiring to be. We have spent some time already digging into the core values of influence and truth and wholeness and community. Today, we're going to listen to some words from the scriptures about mercy, and then next week, culture, and the end of the series, the seventh of our core values, a place where prayer is habit, where prayer is practiced. Today, I want us to dig deeper into the subject of mercy. If you want to dig more into those core values, you can look at crnaz.com/core values, and they're all there, and you can spend a little more time thinking and meditating about them. Today, the subject is mercy for us. Let me pray for us before we dig into the word. Father, in these moments together, we ask for your Spirit to be our teacher. We want to hear the very word of God. Keep anything that would distract us, that would prevent us from hearing your voice. Anything going on in this room or in our lives that might hinder the work of your Spirit, the speaking of your Spirit to our hearts and minds. Would you put that aside and let us be wholly attentive to you this morning? We ask for this in Jesus' name. Amen. So when our kids were in elementary school, Jennifer and I spent a lot of Saturday mornings on the bleachers watching Little League baseball. We signed our kids up for Little League because we wanted them to learn about athletic stuff, and they're both good athletes, and it was a good thing for them to do, to play a sport. We also wanted them to learn to play on a team, to not just do things alone, but to be a part of something, trying to win games and accomplish something together. Honestly, we thought it would be really good for them to learn the rules, and that in life there are rules, and you live by them, and you play by them, and if you play by them, you can win. And we wanted them to learn about strategy. We wanted them to learn, how to win well at baseball. But we learned something that we hadn't expected to learn. So in Little League Baseball, there is a rule that says if one team is 10 runs or more ahead of the other team, at the end of the inning, the game is called. It's called, in the official rule book of Little League, the 10-run rule. But every umpire, every coach, certainly every parent on those hard bleachers, and eventually every player learned that it's really called the mercy rule. It's the rule that says if you're 10 runs behind and you've had your at-bats, it's not likely that you're going to catch up, and we call the game. I told this story at the first gathering this morning, and a parent caught me on the way out, and he said, that mercy rule isn't for the kids playing, it's for the parents sitting in the bleachers. And I think he was right. So on the years that my boys played, we got to experience the mercy rule. Sometimes we gave it. A few memorable times we received it. But it's a mercy rule. It says that when the score is so lopsided that it's hopeless, the only thing that can end the suffering is mercy. I think that's about my life too. When the sin in my life is so lopsided that I am without hope before God, the only thing that can change my reality, hear me, is mercy. When our relationship with the Creator is so wrecked by our sin, He invoked the mercy rule. We didn't ask for it. We didn't come up with it. It was His gift to us, and He invoked the mercy rule. Here's what I want you to know for sure. Because we have been captured by the mercy of God through the kindness of Jesus, we are driven by mercy in our relationships with everyone around us. Captured by mercy, driven by mercy. Received, now given. Mercy received sets the table for us to show mercy to others. Kindness experienced brings out the kindness in us. Grace, once tasted, makes us gracious toward others, to people who need it most, and sometimes who deserve it the least. That's mercy. Well, I want to be a part of a church where mercy is action. I'm not interested in being a part of a church where mercy is words on a page, or worse, mercy is words that we repeat. I want to be a part of a church where mercy is action, where mercy is actually lived out, where the people of the church, where the people of the community really live the mercy and goodness of God. Here's how our core value is written. CRNAZ core value on mercy says, we believe that the church is God's ongoing presence in the world. Our hearts should break for what breaks the heart of God, compelling us to fight injustice and to serve others compassionately. The church, that phrase at the beginning of our core value statement, is all of us together, but it is all of us individually as well. It is what we do as a church family, and boy, we do more together than we could ever do when we're alone and on our own. And it is a statement about us together, but it is also a statement about us individually. So I am, you are, we are the presence of God in the world today for mercy and for kindness. So let me show you a single verse from the Old Testament that displays this value, in fact, from which this core value really grows for us. It's from the prophet Micah, chapter 6, just simply verse 8. It says, he has shown you what is good. And then this question, and what does the Lord require of you? That's not a rhetorical question. It's a question with an actual answer. The answer comes in three parts. He says, here's what the Lord requires of you: to act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. Three things: to act with justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. Now, hear me out. This is not the way to salvation. This is the result of salvation. This is what happens as a result of having been treated kindly by the God who forgives us. This is the result of receiving grace that pardons our sins, that we now become gracious and merciful and kind to others. So let me show you those three things real quickly. What does God expect from us? First, to do justice. He expects for us to do justice. These are not only personal acts of justice in the world, that we do what is right individually, and we have about 1,000 opportunities a day to choose justice or not in our dealings with people. But it is about us doing justice in the community as a community. The individual part of it is making sure that if we have any wealth or power or influence or position or anything to our advantage, that we use it in such a way that does justice, not injustice. Nothing worse in the world than a person with a little bit of power who becomes a bully. Nothing uglier in the world than someone who has a little bit of money and uses it to put others down. Nothing in the world that is less Christ-like than someone who has come up and looks down on everyone else. If you have a little bit of wealth, if you have a little bit of authority, if you have a little bit of power at work or where you live, use it justly. Use it for justice, not injustice. Now, it goes beyond just how we live individually and talks about how we live together, that we are committed to fighting and resisting institutional injustice. That we are opposed to the things in our world. And as you look at human history, I guess we haven't come very far, because there is still massive, corrupting injustice in the world all around us. And we must have the courage and the heart to stand up and resist and oppose, to stand for the poor, to speak up for the oppressed, to care about the marginalized. I love this quote from Dr. King, and it wasn't original with him, and we're not really sure who originally said it, but Dr. King used it a lot in his speeches and in his sermons. He said, "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it is bent toward justice." Isn't that good? And when you realize that it was said many times by a man who spent his life trying to influence and change the culture of a country that had been bent toward injustice. It tells you that the arc of the moral universe, though long, is bent toward justice. Doesn't mean that we sit back and watch it bend. Here was a man who sacrificed, ultimately, everything to stand up against institutional injustice. And there are challenges for us today, in our day. Most of us are not going to be Dr. Kings. But there are places where we can stand together and individually for justice, for what is right. So one of the places is, yesterday we had runners in the Phoenix Mesa Marathon. We got a picture of a couple of our runners running in the marathon. It was a World Vision sponsored thing to raise money. There's Dashwini. So they were raising money for clean water. Can you believe that in the world today, in the world where there are cell phones everywhere, there are still people who drink filthy water and die from it? You go to the tap, if you even drink tap water, most of us drink it out of bottles, don't we? And you never even think about, is the water safe? Is it going to, water kills more children, waterborne diseases kill more children in the world than anything else right now. And we got to do something about it. So our folks ran in a race yesterday and raised money, and thanks to Heidi Shirley Hawes and the Mercy Ministry, we're doing something good. I was at In-N-Out last week, just once last week. Be sure to tell Jennifer that. And on the counter, as I was checking out, there was a place to drop some donations for the Slave to Nothing Foundation, which is a part of the In-N-Out campaign to end human trafficking. It's the last form of slavery existing in our world today, that young girls and boys, children, women, are enslaved sexually and trafficked around the world. So the In-N-Out company, a family-owned company, has decided to do more than just print John 3:16 on their cups. Have you noticed that down at the bottom? You lift up there. More Christians have dumped Coke on their friends, trying to show them John 3:16 on the bottom of the cup. And I love it that they decided to do more than just print words. It's cool. It's a great verse. It's cool to have it on the bottom of the cup. But they did something more than that. They founded this foundation that is called Slave to Nothing. And so for every dollar that customers dropped into those donations, the company, In-N-Out Burger, put in $3 to help fight sex trafficking around the world. Is that a cool thing? I don't know that the campaign's still going on, but if you're hungry right now, it's a good place to go for lunch, I guess. So the first thing is to do justice. Find ways for us corporately and ways for us individually to do justice, to stand up in this world for doing what's right. Second thing is to love mercy. Interestingly, do you notice the verb there? To love mercy. It doesn't say do mercy. It doesn't say be merciful. He said do justice, but when it comes to mercy, it's more of a matter of the heart first and action second. And he says, some of us need to have our hearts turned toward mercy, toward recognizing all the mercy that we've received, all the kindness and goodness. It's affection of the heart, and God won't force you against your will. He's not going to twist your arm up between your shoulder blades and make you do things that are merciful or kind or gracious in the world. But he whispers to us in this verse, love mercy. Love mercy where you are, in the experiences that you have. This mercy culminates in action, but it starts with affection. It starts with a heart that says, mercy triumphs over judgment. I am going to ask God to strip me of the judgmental attitudes that I carry with me and make me gracious, and make me merciful, and make me kind. So if you've ever tried to put a toddler to sleep for a nap or at nighttime and they don't want to go, you've been there probably, parents, grandparents, and the temptation is to lose your temper, to become frustrated and angry with the toddler. I brought along a little video for you to watch to how to do this with mercy. Watch.
Together naturally, don't you think?
That's mercy. I know it's a commercial for Banner Health Systems, and I love their marketing campaign, Hello, Human Kindness. They made it one word. How cool is that? I hope they're living up to it at their hospitals and facilities and stuff. But even more than that, I hope we're living up to it. That's mercy. Let me tell you the third thing that the Micah 6:8 passage says to us, that we should walk humbly. We all walk somehow. We all carry ourselves in a certain way. The whispering voice of God says to us, walk humbly. I've got a friend who grew up in Texas, and when he talks about people who are not humble, he says they're full of themselves. You get that picture? It's all about them, the way they walk, the way they carry themselves, the way they talk, the way they interact with other people. It's all about them. And the Spirit of Jesus says to us, walk humbly. If you're not sure what that looks like, start out in the Gospels and follow the life of Jesus and watch how he walked. Walk humbly. It means noticing and caring about others, not always looking in the mirror, not always checking yourself out. It especially means walking humbly with people who you might feel a little bit better than. I mean, it's tempting for us to think, well, I'm here as the customer, I should be served, I should be waited on. So I have a friend who worked at a restaurant, and after a while, he was so frustrated because none of his coworkers wanted to work on Sundays. And the reason they didn't want to work on Sundays is because at noon, the restaurant filled up with church people. And he says they were notorious for tipping cheaply, staying long and tying up a table, and being demanding and wanting service. And if they didn't get it, they weren't very nice. And he said it broke his heart because he's a follower of Jesus, and he knew these were all people who came from church, and yet his coworkers who didn't know Jesus had drawn a conclusion about what church people were like. Doesn't that break your heart? Listen, if you go out for lunch today, tip generously. If you have a chance to be in a position where someone else is serving you and waiting on you, be kind to them. Not looking down on them, but genuinely showing kindness to them and loving them. Can I tell you something else that really bugs me? Those of us who can afford to go on a cruise, and you know, it just makes me sick to see Americans who go on a cruise, go to a third world country, and then beat down little local tradesmen over the gifts that they're trying to buy. And you say, well, that's the way they do it there. No, it isn't. Those people live on a few $100s a year. And it costs you thousands for a week on a cruise ship. Could you be generous? Could you be kind? Could you ask the price and then pay more, not less? Maybe you think that's ridiculous, but I don't think it is. I think that's exactly what this says when it says, walk humbly. I found this quote, and I don't even know who originally said it. Somebody told me it was Dr. Seuss, but I Googled it and couldn't prove it, so I'm not saying that. It just simply says, in a world where you can be anything, be kind. So Jennifer and I pray for our 4 grandkids. We got 2 boys and 2 girls, and we already think they're smart and beautiful. Okay, they got that down. Well, that's our opinion anyway. You know what we pray for them every day? That they will be kind. Because I've noticed with children, it's not automatic. I'm praying that my boys, those little boys, not only that they won't be bullied, but more than that they won't become bullies. I pray that my little granddaughters, who are so smart and so beautiful, will not be hurt by mean girls. But more than that, I pray that they will not become mean girls. I'm praying for them to be kind every day. So do justice, love mercy, walk humbly. It's all about kindness. So why do this? Let me try to answer in just a few minutes. Why show kindness? I got 3 reasons. First is because the people you meet all bear the image of God. Everyone you see today, everyone you meet this week, everyone you share the one-on-one with or are at work with or in your family bears the image of God. Genesis 1 says he made us male and female in the image of God. Every person you encounter today and this week bears the image of God, whether they seem like it to you or not. In fact, there's a powerful proverb in chapter 14 of the Old Testament book of Proverbs, just a collection of wisdom, that says this: whoever oppresses the poor shows contempt for their maker, but whoever is kind to the needy honors God. Is that cool or what? You may think of the poor and show contempt toward them for their poverty, but the wisdom of God says that's showing contempt for their maker, for the one who made them. Regardless of the circumstances of their life, they are made in the image of God. They are an image bearer of God himself. And I love that it's not all negative, that it's positive and says, but whoever is kind to the needy shows honor to God, their maker. The whole thing of the image of God, I want you to think this week, every person you see, whether they're easy for you to see or not, is in the image of God. I heard about kids in Sunday school were drawing pictures, and it was freestyle, and they could draw anything they wanted. And so at the end of the time, a little boy teacher said, "What'd you draw?" And he said, "I drew a picture of God." And she said, "Well, sweetie, nobody really knows what God looks like." And he held up his picture, says, "They do now." I'll tell you what God looks like. He looks like the person right now standing on the exit ramp at Ray and the 101. I'll tell you what God looks like. It looks like the person in your department at work who you can't stand. I'll tell you what God looks like. It looks like the person in your family that you're separated from and can't have a relationship with. I'll tell you what he looks like. He looks like every person you'll ever encounter. That's the image of God. So we show kindness because everyone, not just us here on the inside, everyone is made in the image of God. Second reason why we show kindness, because we don't know their story. You know, we look at people and see their behavior and see their dress and see what they do, see their habits, and we think we know their story, or we judge them, or we draw conclusions, or we with our mouths. But the truth is, we don't know their story. How a person behaves and what they do and how they live their lives, there's always a story behind it. I'm not making excuses. I'm just trying to get us to think honestly about where other people are, where they've come from. There's a great verse in 1 Samuel 16. So the prophet Samuel was to choose Israel's second king. Saul was done. The next king we know would be David, and Samuel was in the process of choosing. And God came to him and said, "Yeah, your vetting process is a little off." And here's what he said: "People judge by outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart." Because Samuel was doing what all of us do. He was looking for the tallest, the strongest, the best looking, the smartest, the best SAT scores, clear skin, nice hair. And God had to say to Samuel, "Wrong stuff. Look a little deeper." God looks at the heart. And there's a story behind every person you meet. So this is a true story. For a couple of weeks ago, my mom and my sister both live here. My mom's 92, and it's okay to tell a woman's age if she's past 90. Because past 90, they're really proud of their age, and they should be. So she's 93 on her next birthday. She's 92 right now. And she and my sister went out for lunch. I'm not going to tell you my sister's age, but she's a year and a half younger than me. So there you go. So my mom and my sister went out for lunch together. Incidentally, why wasn't I invited? But anyway, they went to lunch together, and they're at Chick-fil-A, which is one of their favorite places. And you pay and you order, and then you go sit down, and a nice person with a name tag comes and brings your tray of food to you. And so when this nice young woman brought their tray to them, her name tag says Michelle. My mom and my sister looked at each other and began singing, "Michelle, ma belle, sont des mots qui vont très bien ensemble." And it brought a smile to the young woman's face. She gave them their food, and they ate. At the end of their meal, when she came to collect the trash, which, again, at Chick-fil-A they often do, she now had tears in her eyes. And she said, "I want to thank you for singing that song for me." She said, today, is the 1-year anniversary of the death of my 5-year-old. And she said, "It was very hard for me to come to work today. And your song cheered my day, and I want to thank you for that." You see, they had no idea. And if you're hard-boiled, you're probably saying, "Really? You sing an old Beatles song and that's showing kindness?" It really is. It's connecting with someone else. It's living into their story, not just yours. It's treating her like she's really a person, not just a waitstaff. And it meant something to her. You have no idea the story of the people around you. You have no idea the anniversary dates that people live with. There's a third reason for showing kindness. It's because when we show kindness to people, we are also showing kindness to Jesus. You know this story from Matthew 25. Jesus told this story, and he said, "When I was thirsty, you gave me something to, or when I was hungry, you gave me something to eat. When I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink. When I was a stranger, you invited me in. When I needed clothing, you clothed me. When I was sick, you looked after me. When I was in prison, you came to visit me. And the people all said, when did we ever see you in any of those conditions? And Jesus said, whatever you did for one of the least of these, you did for me. When we serve people, when we love people, when we show kindness to people, when we offer grace to people that we may think don't really deserve it, we are showing mercy and grace and kindness to Jesus. Mother Teresa used to say all the time that Jesus comes to us in the most distressing disguises. If you have your eyes open, you'll see him this week. He may not look at all like you think he should. When you give to the poor, when you welcome a refugee, when you are kind to a person who's hurting, when you feed someone who's hungry, when you show goodness to someone who may not deserve it, you are serving Jesus. Here at Crossroads, we're committed, and as a congregation, we're doing this great. We're caring for the homeless. We're feeding them. We're welcoming refugees. We've got families taking foster children who are escaping almost indescribable family of origin pain. We've got kids that we love at Royal Family Kids Camp every summer and at track. We've got others who are loving and helping people at crisis times in their lives. We are helping people move in a new direction here in Chandler and especially in Kenya. I mean, do you know the good we're doing in Kenya? It's remarkable. It's more than just offerings given and money sent. It is real life change that's happening. And it's happening in our community as well. We're showing mercy as an individual and as groups. So this week in your Connect groups, you're going to get to talk about ways for us to do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly. We're going to talk about ways to actually live that out as individuals, as families, as a Connect group. I want to challenge each Connect group this week to find a way to serve together, to somehow in the next week or two or three or the next month or so, to come together as a Connect group and do more than just meet in a living room, but to get out and show mercy somewhere, to get out and serve somewhere together. So I brought a photo of the church board served dinner to iHelp in January. It was a wonderful evening for the church board to do. We served food to hungry people, and then we sat at the tables and ate with them and got to hear their stories. And oh my goodness, I thought serving was a delight. I thought it was a privilege to serve. When I sat down and ate with those guys, Jennifer and I sat together with a table of 3 guys, and oh my goodness, the stories that we heard from them and how they became homeless. And how one of them said it was a particularly cold night. He said, if this gym weren't open, I'd be sleeping rough. If you hadn't served us beautiful fried chicken and biscuits, he said, I don't know what I would have eaten. Serving was a joy and a privilege, but sitting and listening to their stories was the ultimate. And I'm proud of our church board for doing that, aren't you? I want every Connect group to do something like that together. So this week in your groups, talk about ways to step up, to do something for justice, to do something for kindness, to serve together as a group. Now, I get it that some of you may be saying, well, wait a second, I'm not naturally a merciful person. That's just, this whole talk of mercy doesn't really fit my person. I'm mostly a black and white person. I see things as they are. I call them as they are. In fact, maybe you're a little bit proud of that, that it's either right or wrong. In fact, maybe you're thinking, yeah, Rich, I think this mercy talk is soft and squishy. I'm a realist. I'm a pragmatist. I want to remind you, mercy is at the heart of God. He had every right to condemn us. He had every right to pass judgment on our sin. But instead, he relates to us based on mercy, not our sin. And when he sees us as loved and cherished and made in his image and worth redeeming and worth loving. And all he asks for us in return is to do the same. To be that way with everyone. For a lot of people, their favorite verse in the Bible is John 3:16. It says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him will not perish, but have everlasting life." Is that a great verse or what? It's fantastic. My favorite one is the next one. It simply says, "For God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but to save the world through him," through Jesus. That's the heart of God. Don't you want that heart too? Psalm 103 says, "He does not treat us as our sins deserve or repay us according to our iniquities." Isn't that good news? And all he asks from us in return is to do the same. To those of us who have received mercy and tasted grace and experienced forgiveness, he says, you do the same with everyone you meet. I can't imagine worshiping a God who tells us to treat others with kindness and to show mercy if he himself were condemning and hostile toward people who stumbled or made bad choices or even walked away from him. Before he asks us to show mercy and live out kindness, he has already been showing us how in his relationships with people who were caught red-handed in sin or betrayed him for money or denied ever knowing him or crucifying him. When we eat this bread and drink from this cup, we are receiving the very life and kindness and mercy of Jesus into our lives. When we are filled with the presence of Jesus, there simply won't be room for us to be full of ourselves. And the mercy, the kindness, and the love of God himself will flow into our lives and out from us all day, every day. Jesus invites us, come to the table and be filled.